days after his victory, Kasa Hailu knelt in a stone church. When he stood up, he was no longer an outlaw. He was Emperor Tewodros II, ruler of all Ethiopia. But a crown is easy to win and hard to keep. Tewodros looked at his new empire and saw a problem. For 100 years, power had belonged to local princes. Each one ruled his own land like a king. Tewodros believed this was why Ethiopia stayed weak and divided. So he made a bold choice. He broke the old provinces into smaller pieces. He removed the powerful families who had ruled them for generations. In their place, he put his own men, soldiers who had marched with him, who owed him loyalty, not their bloodline. For the first time, power in Ethiopia would come from merit, not birth. It was a brilliant idea. It also made him enemies in every corner of the empire. Nobles who had lost their land and lost their pride on the very same day. Tewodros knew this. He believed it was a price worth paying. He was about to learn just how high that price would go. The Ethiopian church was more than a religion. It owned huge amounts of land. It held enormous power over daily life. Tewodros needed money for his reforms, so he made a decision that would define the rest of his reign. He placed a tax on church land. To Tewodros, this made simple sense. The church was rich, the state was poor. Balance needed to be restored. But to the priests, this felt like an attack on something sacred. They refused to accept it. The people, who trusted their priests more than their emperor, began to turn against him too. Anger spread. Protests turned into open resistance. In Gondar, one of Ethiopia's oldest and holiest cities, tensions exploded. Dozens of churches were burned. A bishop was thrown in prison. Historians still debate exactly how it happened. But one thing is certain. After this, Tewodros could never fully repair his relationship with the church again. He had set out to build a stronger Ethiopia. Instead, he was creating deeper cracks than the ones he had promised to heal. In 1858, Tewodros lost his wife, Tewabech. She had stood beside him since his outlaw days. She had believed in him before almost anyone else did. Many who study his life believe something changed in him after her death. His decisions grew harsher. His temper grew shorter. The gentle patience he once showed his soldiers began to fade, and Ethiopia gave him no time to grieve. To the north, Ottoman and Egyptian forces pushed into Ethiopian land. To the south, the Oromo people expanded their territory. In the region of Shewa, the local rulers still refused to fully bow to him. Tewodros fought on every front at once. He won some battles. He lost others. Slowly, the empire he had united through sheer will began slipping through his fingers again, the same way it had slipped from every prince before him. Tewodros had spent his whole life proving he was different from the warlords of the old era. Now, piece by piece, he was starting to look just like them. In 1862, Tewodros made a decision that would haunt him. He wrote a letter to Queen Victoria of Britain, one Christian monarch to another. He asked for skilled workers, for tools, for support against the enemies pressing in on his borders. He handed the letter to the British consul, Captain Cameron, and made him swear to deliver it directly to the Queen herself. Then Tewodros waited. 1 month passed, then 6, then a year. No reply came. In London, the letter had quietly been set aside. British officials had little interest in Ethiopia's troubles. To them, it was simply not a priority. But to Tewodros, the silence meant something else entirely. He believed the world's most powerful Christian nation had looked at him, a fellow believer, a fellow king, and decided he wasn't worth answering. For a man who had built his entire life on being underestimated, this was the deepest insult of all. By 1864, nearly 2 years of silence had turned Tewodros' patience into fury. He ordered Captain Cameron and several European missionaries in his territory arrested and chained. He believed this would finally force Britain to listen. He had no idea he had just given the British Empire the one excuse it needed to send an army to his front door. Tewodros believed he had sent a message to Queen Victoria. What he had actually sent was an invitation to the largest military expedition the British Empire had ever launched into Africa.